What is up, everybody? CP and SJ with you for another week's picks here from Every Day We're Covering, where we're diving into week 11 here of the college football season and try to see if we can get back on the rails here. It's been a little bit rough the last few weeks. Been a lot of upsets in college football, but we're going to try to pick out the ones maybe that are better locks this week, SJ.
I mean, I suppose that's the way you like it. If for entertainment purposes, you want to see a lot of uncertainty, and that's what makes college football good. But on our end, we're going to try to be as certain as possible. And I mean, there's a limit to that, but we'll do the best we can.
Yeah, certainly. Let's get started here. I'm going to start with one that's going to be happening on Friday night. I'm going to go back to Memphis. They did me well last week, but I'm going to go a little different route this time. They're playing Tulane, which actually, seems like a pretty decent matchup on paper. Should be a good game, I hope. But I think these teams are going to put up some points. The numbers, a little bit up there, but it's not overwhelming. So I think they're going to get to it. 54.5 is where it lies. Memphis has been scoring about 30 points a game themselves. So I just need Tulane to keep a little bit of pace, and I think this will be a shootout. So I'm going to go over in that one to get the weekend started.
Because kind of like last week with the big noon kickoff deal, at least is a game that you thought coming into the season. This you mark your calendars. This is going to be a pretty big matchup here, and not so much the case now. And that's Indiana traveling to Penn State. A 14.5 point favorite kind of shows you exactly where Penn State is at this point in time compared to Indiana. And I mean, not much explanation needed here with this type of pick. I just Indiana. We mentioned Ohio State on the earlier podcast in the week of being pretty consistent. Indiana's right up there with them as far as covering the number. Maybe with the exception of that Iowa game was a little bit closer than people thought. But other than that, it may have been close for a while because we've been on the wrong side of the deal with them, kind of thinking that they were going to be held a little bit down in a closer game, and they just end up running away with it, whether it be in the in the first half or late in the game. So I think Indiana should win fairly comfortably here. Go pretty heavy on this with the confidence here this week and on that big noon kickoff matchup.
Yeah, I like that. They certainly haven't let anybody down here lately, so it's one to look at. I'm going to go to one that's early too, 11 o'clock kickoff. I'm going back to the well, even though these guys burned me a couple weeks ago. But I feel like this sets up for hopefully an easy win. SMU laying 11.5 at BC. BC's been kind of a dumpster fire this year. They haven't seemed to be able to figure anything out. SMU coming off a nice win there over Miami. Feels like they got a little bit of their mojo back. So I feel like they're going to win by a couple scores and cover that number.
Going to go a little bit off the beaten path here, just a little bit, at least on the side I'm going to be picking, and that's a Missouri State. I guess their first full competitive season here at the D1 level, and go traveling to Liberty, which is a team that has been pretty good for you in the past, but maybe not so much as of late. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go ahead and take Missouri State to cover. 7.5 is the number, at least when I made the play. And Missouri State's actually, like I said, their first year, and they've done pretty well outside of USC. That was to be expected, but I mean, hung around with SMU for a little bit as well, and then their only other losses to Western Kentucky, and they're on a 3-game win streak coming in here. Liberty's kind of been a little bit up and down. They could definitely still get the victory here on the Liberty side. That is, I just think it's I think Missouri State can keep it close, and don't be surprised if they do pull that upset here. If anybody, maybe some alums listen, or anybody that's had some fond memories of hanging out in Springfield, maybe they're going to go that side. That wouldn't be one I'd be against either. But let's just take them to cover that number to play it a little safe here, and then maybe have some fun on a game that maybe you wouldn't normally watch. But then again, I don't know if this is going to be one of those ESPN casualties, so maybe I'll have to find a local pub to check this one out.
Yeah, it's an ESPN Plus game. So yeah, if you're having trouble with that, that's a noon kickoff too, by the way, on that one. I'm going to go to another one you probably will have trouble watching if you are subscribed to a certain service. This James Madison is at Marshall. This is an ESPN2 game in the 11 o'clock early window. James Madison's look good. They're quietly sneaking in there as possibly one of those teams outside of the Power Four that gets into the playoff. Who knows? They only have one loss. They're playing well. Marshall's been kind of up and down, inconsistent. The number's at 13.5, so that's why I went there. I think staying under 2 scores is big here. I think James Madison is able to do that, kind of keep the season rolling here and give themselves an opportunity to be in the conversation.
I mean, the same deal here. You look at these two teams, the helmets. You're like, oh, this will probably be like a prime time, big network type of matchup. But unfortunately, the seasons haven't worked out too well for these teams, and that's Florida State traveling to Clemson. Florida State is a 2.5 point underdog, which I understand they've had their struggles, but to me, Clemson is far beyond. But Florida State, they showed some signs of life, and even even last week, kind of pretty significant dominant victory there against a Wake Forest team that's been okay. I just think Florida State has a little bit more life, and I mean, at some point, it's like I don't even want to bring it up anymore because it's just piling on. But Clemson, and they're just not doing themselves any favors, especially from the head coach perspective. And talking about officiating this week here, so in a close game, you're definitely not going to be getting any calls on your side. That doesn't really help you out there, make matters any better. So I just think that's a kind of, we know how it's going to end for Clemson. It's just a matter of like when Dabo's kind of let go or moves on, whatever you want to, however they end up working it out. But Florida State, I mean, they have their own problems. Like I said, I just think they're a little less, of that dumpster fire, maybe like one trash bin compared to like a dumpster. So they're still hanging on to by a thread.
Yeah, they haven't filled up quite as big of a vessel yet. Clemson just kind of on that downward spiral. You got to feel like the other team has the upper hand just from the get-go in that one. So I like that as well. That's a 6 o'clock game there on the ACC network. I'm going to go to, I guess, most of my games are early in the day, so I know if I'll be upset or I'll be happy. Noon kickoff on Big Ten Network. Ohio State, Purdue. Sometimes these games are fun. Don't expect that to be the case this year. Purdue, I mean, they've shown some life here and there, but all I'm hoping is that they show a little bit of life to put some points on the board, because I'm not going to go to the Ohio State line, even though I felt like maybe you could go there again. It's 29.5, just seems like such a huge number. But the total is only at 48.5. I feel like Ohio State's probably going to put up 40 in this game themselves. I just need Purdue to score a couple times. Pretty comfortable with that. So I'm going to go with that one to get over the total at 48.5.
We're mentioning the games that are be tricky to watch, and last week my after dark plans were just thrown went all up to hell. Luckily the game did the same, so I didn't feel so bad. But this week, at least for my final play here, we'll be okay on FS1, a fair at 8:30 local time here. UNLV going to Colorado State. UNLV is a team this is like the first time I'm going to that well this season, because in the past couple of years they've had some pretty good success with playing them, just either against the number or even pulling an upset here and there. I know they've had a few hiccups here in the last few weeks, but at the same time, I mean, you're losing to the likes of Boise, and then the New Mexico game last week, wasn't foreseen, but it's still a 5-point game. So kind of right a couple of wrongs, and a Colorado State team that's 2 wins, doesn't have their that mid coaching change during the season. That's kind of a way you get back on track, and I think UNLV will do just that. 4.5. That's not a very big number to cover when you're on paper quite a the significantly better team. So I'll take UNLV, and that'll again be heavy confidence on that one. I think that would be that may be decided early, and even though maybe a bit of a night owl here, I might be able to call that one quits early.
Yeah, I like that play too a lot. That's a good one to stick in the back pocket, hopefully here this weekend. I'm gonna throw a little bonus one in there. I not overwhelmingly confident, I guess, about this game, but Duke's been playing pretty good football, and they're only laying 9.5 on the road at UConn, a team that traditionally struggles. They've had their okay games yet this year also, but I feel like Duke's playing pretty decent. They've had a couple of nice wins here in the last few weeks, so I'm going to go probably with Duke there to cover that 9.5, so just a couple score win.
I'll throw an alert here on an ACC team as well, and that's Virginia. They're still they've got that 8-1 record, looking good, even playoff potential there. But they've kind of skated through here the last couple of weeks, and I looked hard at this and I was like, man, can they do it? And Wake Forest is kind of one of those teams that maybe like an NC State type of model where it's like they're bound to get somebody because they keep playing everybody so tough. 6.5 was the last one I've seen. So I mean, don't get too crazy. I wouldn't advise of that. I mean, whatever, do what you got to do. But for Wake Forest to cover that 6.5 points, I've said there's some good a decent likelihood of that. So if you're looking something a little bit off the radar, maybe something to go for an underdog pick, that might be where you're looking this week.
All right, that's what we've got here for you. I think lots of intriguing games to look at up and down the lineup if you look at the lines here this week. So hopefully you pick some good ones out. If you've got anything on your docket that you want us to take a look at, feel free to hit us up. You see the handles there at SJM Bets, at Cherokee CP. You can find us there on Twitter. And then if you would like, subscribe and get the notifications on the YouTube channel here so you get these picks videos each and every week. And then also if you would like, subscribe, share the podcast, available all the major podcast platforms. Just search Every Day We're Covering and you'll find it. Our main host happens to be at Spotify. All right, that's our Week 11 picks here for the college football season. That's SJ Munoz. I'm Chris Parks. Thanks for joining us for more picks from Every Day We're Covering. We'll see you next time for some more covers.